countries want to take over land, but no country claims Antarctica. I think there is something that they know that we don't. Other scientists having mapped and visited all of the continent's mountain regions. But there are still great mysteries to be discovered there. Was someone or something able to somehow close this massive hole? Was some unheard of extraterrestrial technology involved? A project called the Antarctic Impulsive Transient Antenna made news recently with what appears to be the discovery of a parallel universe above Antarctica. A universe where time is running backwards. Melting snow in Antarctica, due to global climate change, may have revealed signs of ancient human settlements on the icy continent. Some researchers believe that the disappearing snow is finally exposing the mysterious truth about the South Pole, and that ancient sailors may well have reached the continent hundreds, if not thousands of years before 19th century explorers. Their ancient settlements may be revealed in satellite images from NASA, which appear to show strange markings beneath the snow, some of which look like ancient structures, including a mysterious pyramidal building. But how old are these enigmatic remains, and who built them? It was recently announced by scientists that a group of glaciers, which span an eighth of the East Antarctica coastline, are being melted by the warming seas. This area of the Antarctic stores a huge amount of ice, and if this were lost, would in the long term significantly raise global sea levels and drown coastal settlements around the world. According to Alex Gardner, a glaciologist at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory in Pasadena, California, the change doesn't seem random. It looks systematic. That hints at underlying ocean influences that have been incredibly strong in West Antarctica. Now we might be finding clear links of the ocean starting to influence East Antarctica. Heightened attention needs to be given to these glaciers. We need to better map the topography. Only then can we be more conclusive in determining whether these glaciers will enter a phase of rapid retreat or stabilize. In November 2019, NASA's Operation IceBridge, a survey of ice conditions in the Arctic, Antarctic and Alaska, completed its 11-year operational program. According to NASA's website, IceBridge is the largest airborne survey of Earth's polar ice ever flown. It yields an unprecedented three-dimensional view of the Arctic and Antarctic ice sheets, ice shelves, and sea ice. These flights provide a yearly multi-instrument look at the behavior of the rapidly changing features of the Greenland and Antarctic ice. Over its time of operation, IceBridge completed more than 900 flights between Greenland and Antarctica, along with more than 150 in Alaska, where a final mission was flown in 2020. The images and information obtained from this NASA project represent the only data set of its kind for scientists to study. Project manager Eugenia DeMarco stated, "Our data is freely available to anyone. I believe IceBridge and the data it has collected helps answer the question of what's going on with the physical world, and that is one of the biggest contributions IceBridge has provided over the years." It is a little surprising that more researchers are not studying this treasure trove of images of the icy continent, although one or two obviously have. It was recently announced on some news outlets that one NASA satellite image of the melting ice in Antarctica had revealed something mysterious lurking below the ice. Although there is some controversy over the genuineness of the images used, some researchers have identified signs of an ancient settlement, apparently about 1.4 miles beneath the ice on this photo. Some have noticed wall-like lines, blocks which look like man-made buildings, and a mysterious pyramid-like structure in the image. In another satellite image, this time from Google Earth, what appears to be the top of a large building measuring around 400 feet in width has been identified. The oval-shaped structure has been likened to the Motte and Bailey castles of the medieval period in Western Europe. The symmetrical layout of what appear to be walls has left many convinced that the structure could be an ancient man-made fort. What could these structures represent? Was there an ancient culture present in Antarctica that has remained undetected until now? Needless to say, the presence of ancient man-made structures in Antarctica would be a complete shock to the scientific community. Antarctica is the highest, driest, coldest, and windiest continent on Earth, and unlike the Arctic regions, it's believed to have had no indigenous population of humans when modern man arrived there. But perhaps during short periods of time in the remote past, there was less ice on the continent, which gave people the opportunity to settle there, or maybe people somehow adapted to the icy environment and carved out a civilization on Antarctica. It is a fact, however, that there were periods in Earth's remote history when Antarctica was not covered by ice and would have been habitable. So it's not so outlandish to imagine previous settlement on the continent at some time in its ancient past. However, according to scientists, Antarctica was last free of ice at least 3 million years ago, long before hominids capable of settling in the continent arose. Another problem with ancient life on Antarctica is that humans did not develop the technology for reliable oceanic travel until around 2,000 years ago, at the earliest, so prehistoric settlements there would be unlikely. It's possible, though, that what appear to be settlement structures on satellite photos are a bit more recent. Perhaps they could still be ancient, but date to within the last 1,500 years or so. It's certainly possible that Antarctica could have been reached by sailors in prehistory, and perhaps they set up seasonal settlements or camps there. Maybe the remains of these camps are what we're seeing in the ice in modern satellite photos. But prehistoric sailors making a practical permanent settlement in Antarctica is perhaps unlikely due to the forbidding climate. The late Gavin Menzies, a British author and retired submarine lieutenant commander, wrote a number of controversial books promoting his claim that the Chinese sailed to America before Columbus. In a summary of his 2002 book, 1421, The Year China Discovered the World, he put forward his controversial theory, which included the discovery of Antarctica. On the 8th of February 1421, the largest fleet the world had ever seen sailed from its base in China, he said. The ship's 500-feet-long junks made from the finest teak and mahogany were led by Emperor Zhu Dai's loyal eunuch admirals. Their mission was to proceed all the way to the end of the earth to collect tribute from the barbarians beyond the seas, and unite the whole world in Confucian harmony. Their journey would last over 2 years and circle the entire globe. When they returned, Zhu Dai had fallen from power and China was beginning its long self-imposed isolation from the world it had so recently embraced. The great ships rotted at their moorings and the records of their journeys were destroyed. Lost was the knowledge that Chinese ships had reached America 70 years before Columbus and circumnavigated the globe a century before Magellan. They had also discovered Antarctica, reached Australia 350 years before Cook, and solved the problem of longitude 300 years before the Europeans. Menzies' ideas about Chinese discoveries are not considered feasible by academics, but what about the ancient Polynesians? There are interesting stories about the Uti Rangiora, a 7th century AD Polynesian navigator from the island of Rarotonga, the largest of the Cook Islands, a nation of 15 islands in the central South Pacific. According to ancient Maori legends, around the year 650, Uite Rangiora led a fleet of large ocean-going canoes south until they reached a place of bitter cold where rock-like structures rose from a solid sea. He returned with stories of icebergs, naming the land Ti Tai Uka Apia, meaning sea foaming like arrowroot, comparing the similar characteristics of arrowroot powder with these sheets of floating ice and snow. This voyage is said to have happened before the Maori people settled in New Zealand. There's little doubt that the ancient Polynesian explorers encountered icebergs on their voyage, though whether they ventured far enough south to actually see an ice shelf is uncertain. But the possibility has to be entertained that this intrepid group of Polynesian explorers, or indeed some other wandering sailors, may well have landed on Antarctica hundreds of years before Europeans arrived there. Perhaps these ancient sailors constructed temporary settlements that are yet to be discovered by archaeologists in the frozen continent. On February 6, 2020, weather stations recorded the highest temperature on record for Antarctica. Thermometers located at the Esperanza Base on the northern edge of the Antarctic Peninsula reached an incredible 18.3 degrees Celsius, 64.9 degrees Fahrenheit, almost the same temperature as Los Angeles that day. Unsurprisingly, this warm weather caused extensive melting on nearby glaciers. But this was not a freak weather day, far from it. The 12-month period between October 2019 and September 20, known by scientists as the Arctic Meteorological Year, was the second warmest on record, next to that of October 2015 to September 2016. However, there may be something positive to come out of this worrying news. When satellite images of this melting are made public, perhaps they will reveal further evidence of settlements on the continent, which otherwise would never have come to light. A NASA project called the Antarctic Impulsive Transient Antenna made news recently with what appears to be the discovery of a parallel universe above Antarctica, a universe where time is running backwards. There have also been stories of mysterious structures being found deep beneath the ice in the continent. So, just what is going on in Antarctica? Antarctica is the world's southernmost continent. It is also the world's highest, driest, windiest, coldest, and iciest continent. Antarctica is about 5.5 million square miles in size, and thick ice covers about 98% of the land. The continent is divided into East Antarctica, which is mainly a high ice-covered plateau, and West Antarctica, largely composed of an ice sheet covering an archipelago of mountainous islands. Knowledge about Antarctica has increased greatly in recent decades, with geologists, geophysicists, glaciologists, biologists, and other scientists having mapped and visited all of the continent's mountain regions. But there are still great mysteries to be discovered there. In May 2020, Antarctica hit the news in a sensational new way, when an article appeared claiming NASA had uncovered evidence for a parallel universe there. This data came from the Antarctic Impulsive Transient Antenna, ANITA, a NASA-funded experiment that has floated around the South Pole 4 times since 2006. It mainly looks for evidence of elusive particles called neutrinos crashing into the ice below and triggering a spray of particles that emits telltale radio waves. ANITA has not yet traced any such signals. However, the instrument has found radio signals produced by other types of particles from space known as cosmic rays as they crash into Earth. According to the report, low-energy subatomic neutrinos with a mass close to zero can pass completely through the Earth, but higher energy objects are stopped by the solid matter of our planet. That means that the high-energy particles can only be detected coming down from space, but the team's ANITA detected heavier particles, so-called tower neutrinos, which come up from the Earth. This bizarre finding would suggest that these particles are actually traveling backwards in time, suggesting evidence of a parallel universe. Explaining this signal requires the existence of an upside-down universe created in the same Big Bang as our own and existing in parallel with it. In this mirror world, positive is negative, left is right, and time runs backwards. According to the Daily Star, there is a parallel universe right next to ours where all the rules of physics seem to be operating in reverse. Can this be real? Do we have evidence for a parallel universe existing in Antarctica? Unfortunately, it looks like some news agencies may have misinterpreted the evidence somewhat. The numerous parallel universe articles now online seem to originate to a story published by the New Scientist with the alarming headline, "We may have spotted a parallel universe going backwards in time." The article contains a discussion of the puzzling results from the ANITA experiment. Essentially, it was misinterpreted by a few publications that, it seems, just read the headline. The real story is about neutrinos. Particle physicist Peter Gorham, who is the principal investigator of ANITA, told Science Alert, We have encountered a small number of anomalies in our data, and once we have exhausted all of the possible explanations within the standard model of physics, only then is it time to consider other ideas that push these boundaries. We are really not done here yet, certainly not at the point where parallel universes are necessary. Leading member of the ANITA experiment team, Ibrahim Safa, said, "We looked at these ANITA events and they can't be standard neutrinos. They were probably a result of our imperfect understanding of the Antarctic ice, but there's a chance some new physics phenomenon is responsible." In December 2017, it was reported that researchers had found a previously unknown huge canyon deep beneath the ice-covered continent. Using radar technology, scientists were able to look 5 kilometers beneath the snow and ice to discover this deep canyon. The feature, which was found near the Denman Glacier on the west of Antarctica, extends for more than 3,500 meters below sea level, almost as deep as the average depth of the ocean. This is also 8 times deeper than the shores of the Dead Sea, which is the lowest exposed landmass on Earth. Previous attempts to map the structure of the Denman Glacier have been unsuccessful, as the deep ice flow beneath the surface skewed results, representing it as much shallower than scientists now know it is. But the latest effort to create the map, known as the bed machine, combined ice flow information with seismic activity to create the detailed map. Matthew Morlingham, who studies ice sheet modeling at the University of California, told the BBC News, "There have been many attempts to sound the bed of Denman, but every time they flew over the canyon, they couldn't see it in the radar data. The trough is so entrenched that you get side echoes from the walls of the valley, and they make it impossible to detect the reflection from the actual bed of the glacier. Ultimately, Bed Machine Antarctica presents a mixed picture. Ice streams in some areas are relatively well protected by their underlying ground features, while others on retrograde beds are shown to be more at risk from potential marine ice sheet instability." In January 2020, Antarctica again hit the news when an image taken from Google Earth was published online. This sensational image seemed to suggest that there might actually be a huge, tall building standing on the ice in Antarctica. A video was uploaded to a YouTube channel, Mr. MBB33, and the paranormal researchers who own the channel suggest that the structure is as much as 2,000 feet in height and the width spans 6 football fields. The video on YouTube has received over 80,000 views so far, and viewers are clearly fascinated by what they think they can see in the image. "Strange that all countries want to take over land, but no country claims Antarctica. I think there is something that they know that we don't," one commenter said. Another user suggested that something along the lines of the Project Iceworm was active in Antarctica. Project Iceworm was a top-secret United States Army program of the Cold War, which aimed to build a network of mobile nuclear missile launch sites under the Greenland ice sheet. Many people, however, believe this controversial image shows nothing more than a huge, oddly shaped block of ice. One ongoing mystery of Antarctica is the vast hole in the continent, which first appeared in the 1970s. Many paranormal researchers believe that this hole leads to a lost world beneath Antarctica, perhaps populated by strange creatures, or even that the hole leads to an underground alien base. In the early 1970s, when satellites first began taking photos of Earth, scientists noticed a mysterious hole in one of Antarctica's seasonal ice packs floating on the Lazarus Sea. But strangely, when the summer arrived, the gap disappeared. Was someone or something able to somehow close this massive hole? Was some unheard of extraterrestrial technology involved? For decades, this strange event went unexplained. But in 2017, during the continent's coldest winter months, when ice should have been at its thickest, a giant 9,500 square kilometer hole suddenly appeared in the same ice pack. 2 months later, it had grown a stunning 740% larger, before once again retreating with the summer ice. It's taken a long time, but scientists now think they finally understand why this keeps happening. Using satellite observations and reanalysis data, researchers from New York University, Abu Dhabi, have found that these transient holes, known as polyonas, seem to be scars from cyclonic storms. In September of 2017, as warm air and cold air collided at the South Pole, the swirling inward winds of a cyclone, reaching 117 kilometers an hour and whipping up waves 16 meters high, pushed the Antarctic ice back in all directions and away from the eye of the storm, like a drill into the water. These gaps are powerful influences of the atmosphere and a potential indicator of climate change. Atmospheric scientist Diana Francis stated, "Once opened, it works like a window through the sea ice, transferring huge amounts of energy during winter between the ocean and the atmosphere." Because of their large size, mid-sea polyonas are capable of impacting the climate regionally and globally as they modify the oceanic circulation. In 2017, an image of part of Antarctica directly south of Australia appeared online. This showed what some paranormal researchers believe to be a Motte and Bailey castle, a design of castle peculiar to the 10th–13th century Europe. The motte is a type of artificial mound topped with a wooden or stone structure known as a keep. The Bailey is a fortified enclosure next to the motte. What was a medieval castle doing in Antarctica? Was it part of a parallel dimension? Could it have been transported there by aliens? The Antarctic structure was about 120 meters across, which made it somewhat large for a medieval castle, but anyway, it did possess two circles, the Motte and Bailey perhaps. One problem with the castle theory was that the whole structure appeared to be completely flat without the significant earthworks, which in part define a Motte and Bailey castle. The mounds of such castles are particularly enduring across the centuries, but as researchers looked into the image, they noticed that the dark blue patches inside the rings were water above ice. The structure is most likely a pond or shallow lake that has frozen over during the winter and in spring, when the image was captured, had drained to some extent. This probably followed the melting or washing away of a naturally formed dam or plug. Some patterns and movements of ice and water are commonly seen wherever there is standing water with seasonal freezing. This explanation is a lot more likely than the presence of a 1,000-year-old castle belonging to a far distant culture. Despite the fact that some of Antarctica's secrets have been revealed, there is no doubt that in the future this enigmatic continent will offer up many more fascinating mysteries to the world.
If you like this video and you want to see more amazing content, go ahead and check out the next video on our channel.